Okay, think about this for a second. When your self-driving car makes a mistake or an algorithm denies you a loan, who's to blame? The programmer? The company? Maybe the AI itself? It feels like such a modern question, right? But it actually has this incredibly deep, ancient history. This is a problem that's been thousands of years in the making. So let's dive in.
4,000 years ago in ancient Babylon, the answer was, well, brutally simple. This right here is from the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest legal texts we've ever found. And there's absolutely no ambiguity. If your creation failed and it hurt someone, you were directly, personally responsible. The line from cause to consequence couldn't have been clearer.
Now let's fast forward to our world. Just contrast that ancient law with the fine print that comes with pretty much every single piece of software you use. We've gone from the builder shall be put to death all the way to sold as is, and in no event will we be liable. This huge shift, that's the accountability gap. And it's exactly what we're going to explore today. To really understand how we got here, we have to start with that old intuitive rule. For most of human history, things were, a lot more straightforward. Whether you were a builder, a blacksmith, or a boatright, the expectation was crystal clear. You were answerable for your work. This direct line of responsibility was the bedrock of trust for, well, for millennia. But as our tools became exponentially more complex, that simple principle really started to fracture. And a scholar named Helen Nissenbaum gave this problem a name. She saw that the very nature of computing was creating these barriers to accountability, making it harder and harder to figure out who should answer when things go wrong. And these barriers, they aren't just theoretical, they have real and sometimes truly tragic consequences. So Nissenbaum identified 4 specific, systematic reasons why accountability just erodes in a computerized world. Understanding these is absolutely key to grasping the challenges we face today, with everything from buggy apps all the way to advanced AI. Nissenbaum identified 4 key ways our intuition about blame just breaks down with computers. She called them the problem of many hands, the problem of bugs, the computer as scapegoat, and this issue of ownership without liability. Let's break down each one. First up is the problem of many hands. Modern software isn't built by one person in a garage anymore. It's the product of massive teams often spread across different companies, even different countries. So when a failure happens in a system that was built by hundreds of people, who's the one person to blame? Well, responsibility gets so diffused that it practically disappears. And this isn't just some abstract idea. The Theric 25 radiation therapy machine is a tragic, real-world example of this. A series of software glitches, combined with the removal of some old-school hardware safety locks, caused this machine to deliver lethal doses of radiation. When investigators tried to find the source of the problem, they just found this messy web of blame. Was it the programmer who wrote the faulty code, the engineers who removed the safety features, company executives, the hospital technicians? The many hands involved created a smokescreen that just obscured all accountability. Okay, this second barrier is all about the culture around bugs. In the software world, there's this common saying, there is always another bug. We've kind of come to accept that errors are just an inevitable, natural part of complex systems. But that mindset, it has a really dangerous side effect when it comes to accountability. Now, this is a really interesting way to think about it. With the Challenger disaster, we assign blame because engineers knew about the O-ring problem. They warned management. That was recklessness. But compare that to casein disease back in the 19th century. Bridge workers were getting sick from the bends, but the science just wasn't understood yet. It was tragic, but at the time, an unavoidable risk. So the big question is, where do software bugs fall on this spectrum? Are they unavoidable accidents, or are they preventable failures that we should be held responsible for? Barrier number 3 is one we've all heard and, let's be honest, probably even used. The computer did it. We blame the machine. The ticket agent says the computer lost your booking. The bank says the computer made an error on your statement. By treating the computer like it has a mind of its own, we let the humans who designed it, programmed it, and deployed it completely off the hook. The machine becomes this really convenient scapegoat. And that brings us to the 4th and final barrier: ownership without liability. This goes right back to that disclaimer we saw at the beginning. Software companies will fight tooth and nail to own their code as intellectual property, which gives them a whole bundle of rights. But then, in the very same license agreement, they'll include clauses just like this one, explicitly denying all responsibility if that software fails. So they get all the rights of ownership with absolutely none of the accountability. So you might be thinking, hey, Nissenbaum wrote about this back in the age of early PCs. And you're right, she did. But what's so incredible is that the rise of artificial intelligence has taken these four barriers and just put them on steroids.
Yeah, the very things that make AI so incredibly powerful, its complexity, its reliance on just massive data sets, its ability to learn and make decisions all on its own, those are the exact same things that make these accountability problems so much worse. Take the problem of bugs. In the world of AI, this isn't just about a simple coding error. No, it's about systemic bias that's baked right into the data. As this Reddit user points out so well, if you train an AI on historical data for things like loan applications or policing, it's just going to learn all the societal biases that are already present in that data. The bug is now a self-reinforcing loop of amplified bias. And what about many hands? An AI model today might be built on open-source frameworks from one group, trained on data scraped from the web, labeled by crowd workers on another continent, and then run on cloud infrastructure from a totally different company. The web of contributors is so vast and so fragmented that trying to trace responsibility for a bad outcome becomes almost impossible. So yeah, the picture can look pretty bleak. But the good news is, there's a new field emerging specifically to tackle these problems head-on. It's all about building ethical considerations directly into the technology from the very beginning. To fight these barriers, a whole new toolkit is emerging. To counter those biased bugs, we have what's called fair AI. To solve the many hands problem, we have responsible AI, which is all about governance and accountability. And to stop us from just blaming the machine, explainable AI aims to open up that black box and make the decisions understandable. These are direct answers to the challenges Nissenbaum laid out decades ago. And this isn't just about doing the right thing, for morality's sake. It's actually good for business. Research models are already projecting the impact of this. A study forecasting trends for 2025 found a direct link between these ethical principles and the successful adoption of AI. It's simple, really. People won't use technology they can't trust. And here's the data to back that up. This chart measures something called effect size, which is basically just a fancy way of saying how much impact each of these principles has on people actually adopting AI. And just look at the two tallest bars, responsibility and transparency. The science says they have a medium but statistically significant impact. This shows that building in accountability isn't a barrier to innovation, it's actually a key ingredient for success. So this brings us all the way back to our central question. We've seen how a simple, clear line of accountability has gotten tangled and obscured over thousands of years. The journey from Hammurabi's code to Nissenbaum's barriers to today's ethical AI frameworks, it's been a long one. The technology has changed beyond anything we could have imagined, but that fundamental human need for answerability, for someone to be responsible when things go wrong, that hasn't changed at all. We started with a rule that was literally etched in stone. If your creation causes harm, you will answer for it. Now, we're surrounded by creations that learn, predict, and act on their own. So we have to decide what our rule should be. What does accountability look like in the 21st century and beyond?